Hey everybody, today's all about that Horus Heresy terrain train.
Welcome to Trident Wargaming, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of tabletop wargaming. Your hosts are Bill and Andy.
Hey guys, welcome back to Trident Wargaming. This is episode 14, and I am your host, Bill.
And I'm your other host, Andy.
And yeah, today we've got kind of a little bit of a different format for the show. We definitely want to jump into Horus Heresy, talking about terrain, as it's a huge player in the game system itself. But to kick things off, actually, we wanted to talk about what's new in Wargaming. And it's basically just do a little recap of all the systems that, we love, and the things that have been dropping the last week and a half, 2 weeks has been jam-packed with just tons of stuff. So
definitely. Guess we can start with any of the systems, really.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start off with some of the bolt action stuff happening in Warlord games. So there's been a release date showing up June 4th for a D-Day US sector campaign book, which is pretty cool. There was a sneak peek at one of the other campaign books, Italian Underbelly, and believe it or not, and this always happens to me, is I actually ended up finding it on Amazon. So before even Warlord releases it, I see it on Amazon for some weird reason. So that'll be pretty cool. Not sure when that's coming, but it's out there. They did release a new plastic Jag Tiger kit, which is pretty awesome. They also have some of Hobart's funnies for guys, they're the Churchills that they had weird attachments on them for the war, right? So those are coming out. And they've just released the British Canadian Infantry box set and the starter army. And luckily enough, I got one of them here, so I'll probably be doing a unboxing soon enough. And then the British M7 Priest SPGs, so they'll be coming out too. So that's pretty much what's going on for bolt action on that end.
Nice.
What do you got there, Bill?
Well, one of the big ones that I know just was like wildfire online for Horus Heresy was Malagur's the Twisted.
Mm-hmm.
A few reasons why it was super exciting to hear and see was, there's still hope that a lot of these models a lot of these units that just didn't have models are still coming, which is nice. And then on the Warhammer community page, they say like this is the first in a few different articles that'll be coming out to showcase and talk about new Heresy stuff, which obviously is an exciting time. There's a lot of rumors with Heresy itself, with the version 2.0 and, just all the new things coming out with, like, is there a new plastic set? Is there a new, box set to jump in? What's going to be happening? Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say all the speculation of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like everybody's on two fronts. Like, yes, no, is it going to 2.0? Is it not? Is it, what's happening?
Yeah. Well, even, Games Workshop, someone, had their conspiracy hat on and was like, well, the Games Workshop, it's the product code 30. And this is going to be for 30K. And it's, there was a lot of stuff happening for Heresy. So I'm definitely excited to see what happens. Malagur's model itself looks amazing, I think. Very, very cool throwback in between like Heresy and like the Chaos Space Marine range. As you can see, like this is late Heresy when they're just really starting to get corrupted. So I like the look of that for sure.
About time.
Yeah.
Like there's quite a few models that they still need to bring out.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm hoping they're going to be pushing on that, rest of this year, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then for Heresy as well, the new Siege of Terra Imperial Palace map that dropped not long ago. Beautiful piece. I have mine sitting here waiting for a frame. to go along with my Soul System one, and yeah, it's an amazing piece. The leather work on it is just incredible, and then the fabric map itself, like inside. If you guys don't have one, I would highly recommend grabbing one if you're a big Heresy fan, just because they're a beautiful addition to any like game room, war room, whatever you got going on. So
nice.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool. Don't think there was anything else for Heresy though that came out.
No, it's, well, I guess a sub system for Heresy, right? Adeptus Titanicus.
Right.
There's a few things happening with that in the last little while. I know they previewed and showcased some of the Volkite weaponry that's coming out for all the Battle Titans, which is pretty nice. And then, obviously, let's get to the real one here. The War Master Titan dropped, along with the Loyal Legio book. And the War Master kit itself, like, now that people are starting to, like, post their pictures, hey, this is painted. I know GW teamed up with that group of, I think, 4 or 5 different artists to get it all painted in different Legio colors. It is an impressive kit. The thing is massive. So,
a lot more goodies on it too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you're just getting into Titanicus, all I gotta say is, enjoy the trim. It's there, and if you're a Chaos Space Marine player, this will be a walk in the park. If you've painted a Helldrake, you'll laugh at a Titan. It's easy. So,
it's very true.
But yeah, I'm really happy with the way things are going for Titanicus. I'm super, super excited and just amped up for a Trader Legio book, hopefully dropping sooner than later.
Yeah, the Loyalist book is thick.
Oh, yeah.
So I can just imagine the Trader one's going to be just as big, if not bigger.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we get some of those Demon Engine upgrades in there, because that would be just legit. So,
pretty neat little twist.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's basically it that we got for Titanicus. One of the really kind of wild ones, and it's had so much for 40k now. I guess starting with some of those littler ones, small models. There's that new Sisters of Battle Halberd Storm Shield melee specialist that they previewed, which looks actually really cool. I do like the aesthetic of it for sure.
I'll have to see what that's all about. Definitely.
Yeah, and then
obviously it'll be going into my collection. But
of course, you have to.
So.
And then the Beast Snaga boys that they were previewing.
Oh yes.
Now, like, these guys aren't riding squigs either. These guys are on foot, which lends itself to: is it going to be just a new like boy box dropping with these guys, or is it going to be a combat patrol, or is it going to be a whole like release? Is it going to be almost like a Space Marine release where they have like a faction book within, or a clan book within a faction, right? Like, I'm kind of excited to see what they do, because the aesthetic of the boy itself is it's not as cartoony and kind of silly as it's been in the past. It has a little bit of the elements from Age of Sigmar. Yeah, but it makes them look a little more brutal. So
it's the new style of modeling, right? And like, it was funny because you and me were talking about like new boys, like a week ago before that dropped kind of thing, and it was like all of a sudden it came out and it's like, no way, are they doing it? Yeah. So it's good to see orcs getting something new and maybe more coming. New kits, who knows, maybe bigger boys, maybe they're evolving, bigger, different units, right? Because I mean, the orcs I think have had pretty much their same units for a long time. Like, they've gotten some new units, but nothing too major, I don't think. Mm-hmm. So if they're coming out, like you said, like a new clan maybe, that or would be awesome. A a previous clan that they are like completely revamping and bringing with new gizmos and gadgets and laws,
Yeah.
then all the power to them, because new models means great times for painting, converting, especially with orcs converting, like, so.
Yeah,
but it's good to see. It's definitely good to see. And then what else we got for 40K? I think we got the big one.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Big Daddy, the first prince, Be'lakor. Just like, wow. So if you manage to get one, you're lucky, because the allocation of these was super low and the demand was like through the roof. I know I'm definitely looking forward to getting mine built to run alongside my Chaos Space Marines or even my Nurgle Demons. Oh yeah.
Where did you get one?
Oh yeah. It's been hiding
in the shadows.
It pretty much is. It's hiding in a box, just waiting to be unleashed. Yeah. So
I want to see it built and compare it to my Change of Waves, my Fate Weaver. See how big he actually is.
Oh yeah, he's
because that's a tall
pretty
model.
Beast. Yeah.
So
it'd
be cool to see the size comparison.
Oh, definitely.
That wingspan, man. That wingspan.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Nice.
So, I'm definitely pumped to see that thing. And then one of the most recent things for 40K is Adeptus Mechanicus previewing some. They had a combat patrol box which looked pretty legit, and then they're doing like another run of those Adeptus Mechanicus dice. So back in the day, you could buy this massive cube of, I think it was 100 of the 12 millimeter dice.
Was the black and red ones?
Yeah,
right.
The black and red ones, and they were really good for APOC or just rolling a ton of dice. So they've redone these ones, but they're red with white pips and details. And then
nice.
They showed the data cards, and then there's the Skitarii Marshal that they did in a preview a little while back as well. So just a lot of exciting things happening for a lot of these systems, which is really nice to see. I know a few of the guys here in the group that play Mechanicum are pretty pumped. So the aesthetic looks grittier and darker for them for sure on some of the artwork I've seen. So I'm excited to see them on the tabletop in full force.
Very nice. Yeah. I know ongoing, another game that we kind of look at too is Star Wars Legion. And there's a few things that have kind of popped up as well. Right now there's 2 upcoming releases. One of them is the Rebel AA5 speeder truck, flying camper pretty much.
Yeah, the Winnebago.
Yeah, exactly. They come with quite a few cards for the unit itself, plus the generic cards that other units can use and whatnot, like in your army. But there's a couple of controversial cards in it that's saying maybe too powerful, but a lot of cool abilities. It'll be interesting to see it on the board. See the guys doing paint jobs on it, maybe some murals on the side of them. I don't know. We also have the Imperial, and I think it's the clone. It's a dual faction unit as well. The LAAT/LE Patrol Transport. You've actually seen it in Clone Wars, but it's just a little flyer, and again, a lot of different cards in it and a couple characters and whatnot. Upgrades for the card, for the actual unit itself. So I think this is a start of new stuff for Legion with more flying units, kind of hovering units, right? Repulsors and stuff. That's what they call them. And then you get some sneak peeks of like Magna droids, command droids. You also had a whole bunch of like other sneak peeks of like the Yoda model that they're coming out with and some of his stats. There's also like the other Wookiee set that's coming out, look like warrior Wookiees.
Awesome.
Yeah, and there's slowly bringing more stuff out, right, to make a lot more units for the game. And then they just released not too long ago Landel Calrissian and also Agent Callus, so for Empire and Rebels. And they have different mechanics that you haven't really seen. It's more of they got kind of like positive mechanic, and then there's a slightly negative mechanic, but there's little combos that you can do with them. So that'll be interesting to see on the board and see what people come up with. So, but pretty cool. Always excited to see all that Legion stuff come out as well. You know, love the Star Wars too. So,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, we'll see what else starts coming out. Who knows? Maybe they'll make a Gungan race come out faction.
No doubt. No doubt.
That's all I got for Legion.
Okay. I think for the most part, but just like on the systems that we've kind of really been hitting, I think that's kind of it that we saw. So, you know, I'm sure a few of you guys have seen, you know, this stuff as well. We're just kind of recapping because there's been a lot of stuff coming lately, and sometimes it's hard to just keep it all on track. So
yeah, the companies are definitely like, you can definitely see them doing a lot of releases, and like obviously there's other systems that we don't even touch, we don't even cover really, but like you see it all the time, right? Like there's so much coming out.
Yeah.
So, but these are kind of the main ones that we concentrate on, or that we're pretty involved in and get to play whenever we can.
Exactly.
When that is again, but you know.
Yeah.
But still pretty excited to see all the stuff come out and grab it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that said, we can slide into just kind of what's new with us, what's been going on here. So,
yeah.
You know, new month. So we kicked off in April, which was a new month, and with that, we wanted to do a new hobby pledge for like painting and building and whatnot. So we ended up jumping into the Horus Heresy system and kind of got that buzzing online, like with a local group that's basically very thriving, I would say. There's a lot of chatter on there, a lot of pictures, a lot of excitement, and that's really the main focus of those like hobby pledges, is to just, you know, start drumming up the interest again.
One thing I've noticed just with our community, like a lot of new armies.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Right? And like the hobby challenges that we do and whatnot, really, it's really spiked that interest again. And people are, like you said, getting involved, right? Which is great. Even though we can't play, people are still getting ready, still prepping, still getting involved, asking questions, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing my white scars and loving it. You know, I'm doing my markings on my jet bikes and on the greaves and stuff, and it's really exciting for me because it's a different challenge, right? But I know it's going to be a lot of work, but in the end, when it's all done, it's just going to look wicked on the field, right? So,
Oh yeah.
and it's nice because then you start seeing guys who, you know, they may be doing the same army, and you get to bounce back and forth, you know, ideas and questions and all that, which is great for the community. So
Definitely. Well, it's just that next level of engagement with, you know, fellow people in the community, which makes it a big deal too.
yeah, and on top of everything too is we're looking at and seeing changes as well in the community. Guys looking at, you know, larger games, larger points, you know. Armies are changing slightly. Like I know our friend Brady's, you know, messaged us a few times about what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome because it's just, you can see the hype. It's like when we started in Heresy.
Oh yeah.
That excitement, right? Yeah, we're seeing that, and there's new players jumping in and getting involved. So
yeah,
it's wicked awesome.
I know. So with that particular hobby pledge this round, we ended up doing it basically for the month of April and May.
Mm-hmm.
We did a two-parter just because Heresy, we really want to make sure we give a lot of time for people to get their units done and plan it out, right? So the actual challenge was to get an HQ and a squad done. No real minimum or maximum, just whatever you could get done, totally complete. So at the end of the month, or the end of the challenge, I should say, because it's 2 months, you would have 2 completed squads at least. And the whole goal is to pretty much start getting the local community ready, #fully painted, all the way to being ready for some Centurion style events to really kind of break off the rust, let people kind of start playing around with the units. There's some newer players jumping in, so it lets them kind of get a feel for it before we start escalating up, which will be a lot of fun. What did you end up pledging, Andy, for your White Scars?
I end up pledging a squad of Outriders with plasmas.
Oh yeah,
5 of them, a 5-man strong one, and then the Space Marine Legionnaire jet bikes as well. 5 of those guys. So
nice.
And then I think I have a Praetor or Centurion in there as well on a jet bike.
Nice.
So it's very, it's part of the larger army, right?
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, let's 5 is a good number. Let's do that, and then change it up from jet bike to the Outrider bike, and just have fun with it. Have fun with the markings. Like, every bike will have their own individual different markings. Not one will be the same, right? So again, like I said, it's going to be a challenge. There is going to be a bit of freehand that I've got to do, which I've actually done some this morning on one of the guys' greaves, but a lot of taping, spraying, touching up. But I'm enjoying it. It's fun, and I'll definitely be done, I think, before completion date. So
nice.
It's good. Yeah,
that's all right. I like that you picked 5 of each squad, considering that's your Legion number.
Yeah. Yeah, well, probably didn't. I didn't do that on purpose. It was totally by mistake. But
that's all right.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it worked
I'll
out.
take it. What about you, Bill? What did you end up pledging? I know you got a lot. But
there was a lot of stuff. Well, for starters, I started pledging everyone's favorite Legion. The Word Bearers. Give you a moment, just let that sink in. And so for my actual pledge, I ended up pledging some beefier units here. I've got a 15-man assault squad that I ended up pledging, and a 5-man Saturnine pattern Terminator squad. The Terminators, those are the Tortuga Bay Studios on Instagram, and I'll be throwing up some more pictures about
check them out
of them, because amazing models.
Check them out. They are badass.
Yeah. Yes, they are, and just super beefy, right? So, and then I ended up pledging a Diabolist that I'm converting, and he's almost done. He's going to be ready for Prime probably in the next 2 days, and I'll actually be posting some pictures on the Trident Wargaming Instagram page later on, so you guys can check that out. And definitely, let me know what you think. If he seems diabolic enough, right? Like, they're like the first that sold their souls, right, to the Chaos Gods. So He'll have some sorcerer / librarian elements on him, but then, you know, just kind of more taint and corrupted look. So I'm hoping that's what comes through in the model anyways. So,
and just so you guys know, I play Ultramarines, so in the future there's going to be a lot of grudge matches.
Oh yeah.
So
yes,
it's fun.
It's going to be amazing. The whole kind of premise for my word bearers is based around Calth, and they're all kind of basically gonna be really geared towards the underground arcology fighting / like Zone Mortalis theme. All the bases are gonna be like zone themed as well, which I think will really kind of pop the model on it. And then it's basically bringing the pain to Andy's Ultra Smurfs and showing him why Calth deserved to burn. So I said it. Sorry, not sorry. So
it'll be fun. It'll be good. It's been the last time I played a Word Bearers player was at LVO, and let's just say I was not prepared.
Yeah. It's pretty good. So
Gal Vorback and Logar. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a nasty combo for sure.
Yeah.
The nice thing with the challenge is basically what we ended up doing like locally was if you get your challenge done, you get entered into a random draw where you win a $50 gift card to Forge World. Mm-hmm. And that's just something that for all the challenges that we've been putting on, it's just something that we like to do to again give back to the community that we're a part of, start building up some of that hype for the system. And it really does help though, create this this excitement. And I don't even think you could call it like an artificial wave, because like it's been going hard. Like people are doing more than just the bare minimum for the challenge, right?
Yeah.
There's guys who are doing a lot more, which is really nice to see. So,
and not just like within Heresy, but like we've been doing this for months, and every group that we've done it in, we see actual people committing and accomplishing their goals, and it's great because like in the bolt action community, there were so many posts that is like, this is awesome. Like, where have you guys been? Right?
Yeah.
But you end up a little bit of enticement and fun and community building and people seeing that is a really good thing. And even in like the Legion, when I did it with the Legion page here locally, the guy who ended up winning the draw, was so ecstatic and excited about getting his stuff painted, and the challenge really made him go forward actually getting his stuff done.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always good to have like a little bit of like a deadline, like a little bit of pressure.
Keeps you honest.
But it's a positive. Yeah, well, it's a positive thing though, right?
Yeah.
It's a positive thing that just kind of pushes you. Like, you have it in your head. Okay, I know I got to get this done. Let's get it done. Right? Sunday morning, I put in 2 hours. Cool. Look how much more I got done. Right?
Yeah.
So,
and we have been doing it for a bit. Like, we've been doing this since January. So, this is month 4 of like straight up like pledging painting, or pledging building painting, whatever order they come in. It's amazing how much you can actually get done if you just pledge just something. And I know, like, at the end of the year, we'll probably end up doing like a slideshow of all the different things that we've pledged in like the last 12 months for 2021, just to show what we've actually got done.
Yeah, and I think this will probably be our best year.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
So, I know I'm looking at my showcases right now, and there's a fair bit more that's been painted this year than there has been in the last little while.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, no, it'll be.
But with that, I guess we can move on to our main topic?
Yeah, we're there now. So basically, yeah, Horus Heresy and terrain. So if you are like us and you've played Heresy for a little while, you would basically notice that majority, I won't say all, but majority of the games have this one common theme through all of them, and it seems to be, at least here locally for us, it seems to be the dreaded 4+ cover save, where everything is a 4+ cover save, be it ruins, be it your wreckage rebel, be it insert reason here, like some statue pieces or chunks of Imperial Sector or whatever. The whole thing with Heresy is that it's always a 4+ save, and it feels a little bit stale, to say the least. I guess the best word that describes it. I know online there was a question on one of these pages that was asked, and it's a good question. Not so much the premise of, but it was basically, what would you like to see happen with 30K? And immediately, what comes to my mind is I would love to see an update in terrain rules. And what I mean by that is, now, take a big sip of water, don't get salty, is 9th edition 40K has some incredible terrain rules. And I'm not saying to bring Heresy to 9th, so just slam the brakes, just park that for a second. What I'm saying is there are terrain mechanics in 9th that would greatly benefit the Heresy system. One of the main ones that I really like, and actually, we're going to actually start trying and playing, house ruling it, just to see how it works, is the Obscured rule. Those who aren't familiar with 9th edition, Obscured is basically your main big piece of terrain, which is like a ruin or an Imperial Sector or an industrial complex, whatever the piece is. And if your shooting lane, if any part of your models have to fire through that piece of cover and you're not actually in the footprint of the terrain, it's obscured. You actually can't see anything through it. Regardless of what the true line of sight of the piece is, you can't see anything. And, that might sound silly, but think about this. Alpha Strike in 30K is a very real thing, and it causes a lot of issues in terms of game balance, and even just, I guess, the level of how much you can actually enjoy your game. If you're getting, Alpha Struck off the board turn 1, and you've got, you're down almost 1,000 points, well, it's probably not going to be the best game. Play style aside. Where now, if you start introducing these mechanics where it's -1 to your, where it's obscured completely, like line of sight blocking, that's awesome. It allows shooting not to be the be-all end-all on the tabletop for 30K, which it is, let's be real. 7.5, Heresy version 1.0, whatever you want to call it, very much revolves around the shooting phase. Another terrain mechanic in 9th is dense terrain, which is when you're firing over it, you still get your cover saves and stuff through it, that's fine, but when you're firing through it, or your weapons have to pass over that terrain, it's actually -1 to your hit rolls. And before anyone says that's not 30K, these mechanics are already here. Those mechanics have been in the game since, I don't know, I'd want to say book 5, 6, starting with the Marigal Wordbearer Contemptor. It's -1 to hit if you are less than toughness 7 or less than armor 13 in the front. Lehman Russ, when he first came out, he was, bonkers crazy, -2 to hit rolls. Then he got FAQ just to -1. Magnus is -1 to hit rolls and to shooting at them. It's just there's a lot, right?
Don't the Iron Hands have something like that? For bolt guns? Bolt gun?
It's -1 to your firing weapon strength when you're firing at them.
Gotcha.
It's just these mechanics, be it -1 to hit rolls or for being obscured. I really think it could add a whole new layer to Heresy, considering obscured rules actually allow combat armies to get where they need to be. Do you want to run, that 80-man berserker / inductee squad without getting blown off the board by turn 2? If you have obscured terrain, you most definitely can. The nice thing about the obscured rule, and footprint comes up a lot, what we usually have done for 9th in particular is adopted a rubber band technique. So it's basically, imagine a rubber band is around the outside of that terrain. That's what your footprint is. So as long as you're on the outside of that footprint, you're obscured, you can't see anything, that's fine. As soon as you toe in or your unit enters the terrain, now you can actually fire through using true line of sight. I do believe that would be, again, a big positive for Heresy, just because of the way that the game is right now. I'd really like to see the pendulum kind of swing back and make it more balanced between combat and shooting. And we've seen it in 9th that, yes, combat armies are coming back, be it because of the terrain new rules and, a little bit of a smaller board, but the terrain rules are the ones that help the most, in my opinion anyways.
Yeah, with the terrain, there definitely needs to be a change. Like you said before, almost everything you come across is 4+.
Yeah.
Right? And it needs something. It definitely needs something changed. I know we've played with some different homebrew missions that had interactive terrain.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty neat ability, a pretty neat thing for a game, right? You're not just worried about the enemy. Now you got to deal with stuff like the terrain. Will it make the game a little bit longer? Probably, but if you're pretty good at playing the game and you're down with it, it doesn't take that much longer.
No.
But as for changing it up, it would change it up completely, right?
Yeah.
Like your certain tactics that have been used all the time with terrain, it'll change it up, and it'll add even more to that. I know with other games that I've played that is like, the obscured is the way that terrain is played, and it's pretty good. Like, you're not just going to get blasted and relying on this 4+. Well, sometimes you need to just get that unit out of sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as for that, yeah, I agree with you on that part with the terrain for changing the rules, and some of the 9th stuff has a good base of an idea and rules for that. Again, interactive terrain I think would be great. You do have difficult terrain, but that's pretty simple, right? That's going to be across the board regardless. But other terrain types, and I'm not just talking like the ones that they have in the books, the bunkers and stuff like that. Like, even that stuff probably needs to get changed and upgraded, because you don't really see buildings that often.
No.
Right? When's the last time you've interacted with an actual building in a game?
I don't know. At least 4 or 5 years. Like,
yeah,
at least.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Right. But I think if they would just put some thought into it, it'd be really neat if they actually released a separate kind of package of different terrain stuff that you can use.
Oh yeah.
In your games, to be honest, right? Like,
just an errata.
Come up with stuff, right? like, okay, a crater's a crater, okay, right? But now, what if it's a different kind of thing, right? Like a cesspool. Well, if you're going in it, you're taking damage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, regardless of what you're going in there with. But plus and minuses to hit, changing that kind of thing, definitely would change games, especially like you said with the Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
Right. And going back to what you said earlier about combat armies, it is kind of true. Like, it's really about a lot of the shooting.
It is.
Right? Like, there's some armies that excel, but they're really designed for it. And if you build them right, they're in your face.
Yeah.
But, who knows? Even a weather element to the game, right? We've used that before.
Yeah. Oh, we have for sure.
You're fighting in some chem depots or whatever, right? And you got to watch out with the strength of your weapons are increased or the AP is increased because you're in that danger zone or whatever, right? They kind of do that similar thing with Zone Mortalis.
Yeah, they do open to the void rules.
Yeah. So, but as for the common terrain that you see on the board, like, I know when we play, I don't think I've played in a forest or anything.
No.
Or a swamp.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's one of the biggest things, right? Like with Heresy being true line of sight, and this is where I really think the obscured rule would really shine is, okay, you can actually play in a forest. You could have a footprint of a forest, and you can have, maybe 10 trees on it, but we all know, like, those trees don't block line of sight. You can, like, see through them, like, even though there's, 3 or 4 of them all packed together. But the point is having that immersive kind of theme to your tables and having the terrain that supports that. And now it's obscured where you can't see through it. And that just adds like another layer to the game. And to be honest with you, I feel like it would be probably one of the most positive changes that they could make. And I know that sounds like a tall statement, but I really do think it could be huge for the game.
So I do know in one of the other games I play, they do involve like ruins, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when vehicles are going through these ruins, there's a chance that the ruin itself could collapse, right? So, like, because most structures are going to have some kind of underground structure, right? So in this game, what it happens is if you're driving through it with a tank, you have to roll on a chart, and there's a chance that it collapses and your tank goes down, like into the ground, right? You get stuck or immobilized. So, because you see it, the tank some guys just plow right through this structure. And it's just like, well, more than likely, like, that structure would probably collapse on that tank and probably immobilize it.
Yeah.
Just a thing to think about, just to be neat to try out maybe in a future game, just to see. Because really, I mean, it's your game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to go out and change it. Plus, there's a lot of community-based product and like rules and expansions out there already that doesn't hurt trying that stuff or bringing it into an event and try that kind of thing. But I would like to see it a little bit more interactive, right? I'd like to see a bit of a change with that, with the 4+, because going into a game and it's always 4+, meh. Don't get me wrong, games are still fun.
Oh, they are, for sure.
We always have good fights and good battles with guys that we play with and guys abroad that we've played with. But yeah, definitely some more interactive terrain, rule wise. They'll just have to, if they even do that kind of thing, or if communities would like to do that kind of thing, think about. I'm sure somebody out there, or even in our group, would have some badass ideas, for terrain.
Yeah.
You could even custom build stuff, right?
Yeah, no, you very well could, for sure.
Do enjoy to see what people will come up with and what we'll come up with in future events for it. But yeah, as for terrain, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the biggest thing, guys. Like, we're not we're not bringing it up to cause controversy or whatever. This is to be a talking point. What do you think would be a big benefit for Heresy terrain-wise in this particular spot, right? Like, do you think it would be something positive? Do you think something, do you think that the game could actually, use, this kind of interaction? Or it's just, it's always cool. We definitely want to see what you have to say.
And I honestly don't think changes like that would unbalance the game.
No, I don't think so, personally, either.
Right? Because, there's still a lot of equipment and units out there that ignores terrain. Right? It ignores cover. There's still stuff that does that. So, even if they did change certain terrain, it wouldn't really matter, right? But I don't know. It seems to me it's definitely an area that could be changed and benefit from a change, right?
Yeah.
So, because the system has been, the system's been out there for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And we see these new units come out, and the new black books come out with the armies that we've been waiting for and characters that we've been waiting for. But the battlefield itself,
Yeah, the battlefield's really the most important part. If you're playing on, Planet Bowling Ball, where there's no real terrain, it's going to be inside, very kind of unbalanced game. And if you're playing a city fight where rhinos can't even move freely, it's also going to make for a difficult game. So in between, somewhere there's got to be a perfect balance of terrain, and different types of terrain, right? Be it buildings, ruins, craters. Insert all the different types here. I know, just with running some of the events here at the house, I've got a lot of different terrain to pick from, but I always want to keep trying to make more because it makes tables interesting. But adding these new pieces of terrain with new rules, I really think could benefit. But
even that portal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Chaos Stargate. Right? Nolithic Crown.
Pretty much, right? And it's that kind of interaction to the game is really good.
Yeah.
Right. All of a sudden there's a third party on the field, and it's like, uh-oh, this is a new threat.
Yeah. Just to give some of you guys who are listening a bit of reference point, so there was a table that I had the Nilithic Crown on inside the middle of the board, and it had a lot of kind of old ruined marble type terrain with overgrown trees and some of the Eldar Death World style trees. And the mission for that particular unique table was Return to Davin. And at a certain point in the game, there's basically a roll that was made, and demons would start actually pulling themselves through the warp through this gate. And as the organizer, I was walking around from table to table, but it gave me a chance to actually play this third party faction, which was demons, of course, Demons of the Rune Storm. I just made a very small allied detachment list and had a generic table to roll on, and 1 to 2 was Nurglings. On a 3-4, it was Plague Bearers, and then on a 5, I believe it was Beasts of Nurgle, and then it worked out on a 6. It was an actual Herald would come out, and then I would start attacking my choice of whoever was closest, friend or foe, it didn't matter, which made it pretty cool, right? There was a lot of fun and a lot of laughs, when Nurglings and Plague Zombies are taking down Space Marines. It's a lot of laughs. So that was always fun. But it's just, it's things like that that add that next level to the game. And if, there's actual support coming from Forge World Games Workshop, to allow us to use these kind of things, but in like bigger scales and I guess more of a widely accepted scale, I'm super pumped if that's, if that's at least the glimmer of the future. I think it'll be pretty sweet.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I like to see, like I said, some different changes for like weather and whatnot, and even like how many times have they been fighting in space, in the void, all that kind of stuff. Maybe make something a bit different than what they already have. But you're fighting on a planet that's going through a blizzard, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the visual is cut down to half.
Yeah. Well, I know we've even had on some of the Arctic tables, there's no gets hot roll.
Yeah.
Right, and that actually that makes a difference. Or you're playing on the desert, and if vehicles went flat out, or units went over 6 inches when they flat out or run, or whatever the rule was for that particular unit, they would take a hull point because it was overheating their engines, and you would get hot on 1s and 2s. Yeah, right? And these kind of things change the game a lot, not in a breaking way, but in a way where you might think twice before rapid firing those 10 plasma guns. You might only fire 5 of them because you don't want to lose more. So
now, in saying like some of this stuff, like, because I know we've done a little bit of rules like that and stuff for just local friendly events.
Yes.
Now, come like a tournament, having this different terrain rule set or upgraded rule set, I think would definitely make tournaments a little bit more tactical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you wouldn't want to put something in there that would be just totally mess up kind of how a game would play. Like, if you're doing a narrative thing, and you're throwing in a lot of these cool little missions that have these little mission events and stuff, all the power to you, right? Like, do it up, right? Now going to, if depending on the tournament, like if you're going to this tournament and it's going to be people are going there to play, to use strong lists and like play against each other tactically and whatnot to win the tournament. Could be a little different story, but at the same time could make things a little bit more interesting.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. But as for regular games, pickup games, all that stuff, everything, to me, we need to change for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. And a lot of good stuff is coming from like the player base.
It is for sure.
Right.
That actually kind of leads us into like the next and like our last kind of topic, like for this episode. But it's basically a Heresy wish list, Heresy version 2 wish list, if you want to call it that. So on this particular little spot, what things would you really like to see Heresy do if there was a new edition, be it second edition or whatever the case may be, insert number here, what would you personally like to see? And I know I've been sitting on this particular thing for a little bit. Andy's heard me, rant and rave about it for a little while. But just listen to this. So when you're fighting Mechanicum, they're Thanatars. They're T8. It's a T8 monstrous creature. And its interactions and its rules make it actually resilient, and it plays very good on the board. Your battle automata, like Iron Circle, or just your regular Castellex automata, they're T7, 4 wounds. Again, monstrous creatures. They play well on the board. They can move and fire. They're basically, like a larger version of an infantry. If they have multiple shooting weapons, they can shoot at different things. It's very cool, and it lets them interact in the game in a very, I guess, appropriate way, in my view. One thing I would love to see for any rules changes coming to Heresy, I would love to see Dreadnoughts get rid of the armor value and go to a wound and toughness chart. And, no, settle down. Gather round, children, listen. Imagine if your box knots were T6 with 5 wounds, and your Contemptors were T7 with 6 wounds, and your Leviathans were T8 with, 7 wounds, where they could actually go on the board and interact like infantry, being monstrous creatures, rolling around, firing, running into combat, not having to worry about, getting a armor bane chain fist to the face. They're actually, able to be a little more resilient, in my opinion. It does away with the hull point and the arcs. If you're firing, it's basically this thing can, fire and move and attack 360. I really think Dreadnoughts would benefit from this particular rule change. I think Dreadnoughts would be harder to fight. I think they would actually do better on the tabletop. The Leviathan, yeah, he's a beast, I get it. He does a lot of work, but how often do you see box knots? Or just or regular, an MK3 Dreadnought? You don't. You might see the odd, barbecue knot here and there in like a Salamander's list with Flamestorm cannons and heavy flamers potting in, which is really good, by the way. But, maybe a cheap Mortis option, because guys just don't want to spend the 180, 185 for a Twin Laz or Carries Contemptor. That's about the only time I've ever seen regular box Dreadnoughts. And that's sad, because it's such an iconic model for Warhammer and generally. Not even, 30k, 40k, like for just Warhammer. You hear Space Marine Dreadnought, like that's always what comes to my mind. And they're great, like they look cool, but if they were a little bit better, and I think making them monstrous creatures would make them a little bit better and comparable to Battle Automata, Thanatar, I really think that unit in particular would be great. Like, and I shouldn't say that unit, those units, right? Your regular Dreads, your Contemptors, your Leviathans, the Daredeo. Like, you could do a lot of fun stuff with these Dreadnoughts and make them really excel.
You'd probably see a lot more use out of them.
I honestly think you would.
Like on the field.
Yeah,
on the field. I know. I don't remember the last time I used a box Dreadnought. I don't remember the last time I used one.
No.
I always used the Contemptor.
Yeah.
I barely used Leviathan, just because it doesn't really fit in with my army, right? But
it's just
it's an interesting point. I wonder, like, you gotta wonder their whole idea behind the Mechanicum. Like, they're still robots, right? But is it because they're more, I don't know, lack of a better term, more kind of cyborg compared to like a space marine being jacked into this huge robot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of the same cup, right?
It is. It's to me like, and that's where I'm comparing like apples to apples, right? I really think the two different types of units are very much the same, but for whatever reason, walkers have this just weird interaction with rules and being, in a weird spot where these arcs and weapon degrees of firing, it would eliminate so much BS away from dreadnoughts, and I think it would make them fundamentally better. That I would love just to even try it in a couple of games. Forge World, if you're listening, I have no problem experimenting on it for you. Hit me up. So it's just that's one of my biggest Heresy 2.0 wish list like things. Aside from like the main elephant in the room being psychic phase. So it's a dirty word here, at Trident. Psychers in general are dirty, unless you're playing Space Wolves or White Scars, because let's be real.
Space Wolves have psychic powers?
No, and that's the thing. White Scars don't either. They're just shamans that are using, the world powers, and they have limits. They know when enough is enough, and that's why they're top-notch dudes. And not dirty witches like the rest of y'all. So, yeah, and yes, Norman, yes, even your dirty salamander.
Hate mail coming.
Yeah, even your salamander psychers, it's not allowed, okay? So, and if you play Thousand Suns, we don't even need to mention what you did wrong, so. But, psychic phase, I would like to see a change. I would like to see... It
is a huge revamp.
I would like to see something, either something that looks similar to the old like 8th edition fantasy Warhammer battle, where your army can't be a battery. Okay, so go back in time a couple of years ago, Thousand Suns, they basically are a battery army that everything gives its power dice to Magnus, or its psychic dice to Magnus. And, whereas fantasy, or the change I would like to see, is whatever dice your unit actually generates, that is for that unit alone. You can't transfer it. That's fine. So I know with Magnus, okay, hey, this is what the army is. He's level 5 Psyker, and he can roll 2d6 and pick the highest, and that's how many dice he generates. So at any given time, he can have 11 dice. I'm totally fine with that. Totally fine. What I don't want to see is, I have a level 3 Praetor, I have Airmen, I have all these Brotherhoods, like Psyker Brotherhood units, and now Magnus has like 19 to 20 dice. I don't want to see that, because that's just janky and realistically just kind of meh. It takes the whole game and puts it into like a mini game, which I get. That's what, Thousand Suns did, but the psychic powers that we have available right now in like the official book, they just, I don't know, they don't scream like good utility for Thousand Suns. I'd rather see them like, they can reduce your cover save, or they get +1 to hit because they can actually like see with the different cults inside their legion. They can like, if you fire now, and because they're reading the winds of the warp or whatever. I would rather see stuff like that, like legion specific powers that they can use, and maybe go away from some of these just generic, I'm taking biomancy because that's the best rules for my army. Cool, but not everybody was biomancy either, right? Like you had Corvidae and Pyre and all these different subcults inside the Thousand Suns, but your whole army has biomancy. Lame. Okay, so I'd like to see a revamp on psychic phase. I'd like to see casting done a little differently, denying a little bit differently. I know 9th has a kind of a neat mechanic where Your Psyker, he can cast 3 powers. You roll a leadership test, compare it to the... it's not even leadership test. You roll 2d6, and you compare it to your casting value on the spell, or 1d6, or whatever you needed. And if you meet or beat the score, power goes off. Well, within 24 inches, the enemy has, or the opponent, right? He has his own Psykers. And if he can meet or beat your score, power is denied. Awesome. Cool. But the way that it is right now in the game, it's shenanigans. I really don't like it. I don't think it's... I think it needs a revamp, because psychic powers and psychers in general, minus Thousand Suns, and maybe the odd traitor element, you don't see many psychers on the board at all.
No, you don't. No. Yeah, and you know what? Like, a thing you touched base on was for those legions that did use psychic powers, it would be nice to see specific different psychic powers for that legion.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, some of the generic ones, not everybody had the same one.
No.
Or knew the same one, right? So it would give the army some flavor as well, and give them an opportunity to actually play that phase.
Yeah,
right? Because I don't even think I've played psychic powers. To be honest with, like...
Oh, you will. You'll ride the storm, boy.
Well, yeah. Well, I will be, but yeah. It's just having some unique powers, maybe for those legions.
Yeah.
That did actually,
dabble,
tangled with the psychic powers. Yeah, exactly. It'd be a neat little effect, right? Would it make them more powerful? It could, depending on the psychic powers.
Yeah.
But that's what those powers did, right? Is it going to break the game? Is it going to break the army and make that army unstoppable? It shouldn't.
No.
Right? If it's designed properly and like, minor bonuses and this and that, but actually do help you out, cool. Go for it. You know what I mean? But yeah, to see psychic powers on the board now, and you hear about it in the stories all the time, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a touchy one for sure.
It is.
Thousand Suns really being the only army, full army that would completely benefit from psychic powers like they do.
Yeah.
Out of all the legions, it's like, I get it. They're the most in tune with psychic powers, as they should be.
Yep.
But let's make it different. Let's give you options, right? Yeah, they have more psychic powers than anybody else. Okay, that's legit.
Yeah, totally
that's
fair.
Cool.
Totally fair.
Make them to break the game? No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just make it different enough to make it interesting and give you options of different ways of playing your psychic game, right?
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe make psychic mishaps and all that stuff, miscasts. Maybe change that up too. Make it a little bit more devastating.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to argue it, but
yeah,
it's all good.
Well, that's
what we're here for.
That's what we want to hear, though, guys. Like, yeah, if you're listening to this and you're like rolling back in your chair, just right, like I want to hear that. Like, make a comment, right? Like, don't just get crazy at home. Like, tell us what you think. If you think no, this is completely off base, and you guys sound like you're a couple of crackpots laughing about it, like, tell me, because I would love to have that discussion. Like, well, what do you think would benefit, a change? If you guys have
a little warp dust, that's all.
Yeah, sniff some warp dust and get back to me. Let me know what you figure. But it's very much interesting to see what other people have to say, right? Like, I know, like, I won't go into a lot of detail, but some of the comments on, like, you know, a couple of these pages out there, as soon as you mention, like, hey, you know, this would be really cool, this mechanic, you know, in ninth works really well. As soon as
I'm not playing ninth.
Yeah, man, you bring that anywhere near Heresy, and, you know, I'm gonna say it, but there's some of these neckbeard guys out there that are just so against it. And it's like, yeah, but if it made the game better, more enjoyable, where more people would maybe even jump into Heresy, would you not want to see it, like, flourish?
It needs to evolve.
It does.
Right?
Games that don't evolve, they die a slow death. I'm not saying Heresy's dead. I got all the black books. I'm a big player, big collector. I'm just saying, if you don't evolve, eventually, yeah, it does slowly die. So we need something to happen. And I think if it was positive changes for the game, even though I love the game as is, I can be, you know, straight up enough that I realize, yes, there is a change needed. But yeah, like, if it makes everything better, I'm all for it. All for it.
Oh, for sure. I hear you. Myself, I'm good to try anything, right? So, new missions, new terrain, new psychic powers, changes. Sure, let's do it. Let's try it. It's the only way we're going to find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it good? Good. It's not good? Well, shit.
Yeah. Well, I guess we found out.
But, yeah, exactly. But to make those changes to improve things, and like you said too, you know, the guys that instantly just turn around. Oh, if it turns to ninth, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell my stuff.
Slow down.
I'm gonna get rid of
it.
Slow
down. Slow down. I'm not saying change it to ninth. The rule set is good. It just needs an update and some tweaking and some readjustment to, like, the older armies, you know, to see different units come into the fight again. Like, you know, there's a lot of units out there that you don't see because they're not good.
Yeah,
they're not that great. They're actually worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that's where there's a lot of this community stuff that is rebalancing things and adjusting points, and it's good to try it out. Hey, if you're hardcore and you like just vanilla, that's all the power to you. Go ahead, play it. You know, depending on your community, just you go with that. That's it, right? But
yeah, if you want to try some variety and some spice, check out, you know, the Mournival rule set, their FAQ. They have intense update of some units. Like, Phoenix Terminators are always AP2. Always.
Yeah.
Like, wow. That squad just went from looks nice on the board to, like, I want to take that in my army all the time. And if you're like, oh, I still wouldn't take them, don't lie to me. You don't lie. I know you would. Right? Like, everyone would take them. That's why they're changing and making little updates here and there, because these are iconic units in the game that just need a little bit of love. Yeah. So what do you think, Monty? You got a wish list thing? You know, like, you got anything?
I think I just mentioned it. Is these older units?
Yeah, that's yours.
Actually, you know, there is one big wish list.
Hit me.
And it's nice that they've kind of started it.
Oh.
It goes to the models. Actually,
yeah.
There is a lot of models that still are not released.
Have you seen the con?
God,
he's missing, you guys.
Yeah, he's still missing.
Come home.
He's missing. It's funny you mentioned the con because I ended up reading this. I can't remember what it was. It was an article or something, and they're like, probably the reason that they released Lionel Johnson before the con is because he was easier to do, right? To create, like, model wise. Fair enough, but you know what? Get it done.
Yes, please.
My whole thing is what I would like to see. Models not released aside, there is a lot of different characters in the story that you actually don't see in the rulebook. Now,
Truth.
If they were to come out with a plethora of different characters for all the legions to upgrade and give different play styles to the legions and upgrades, this character does this character can lead to your army doing this, bonuses here, bonuses there, but different characters. I think you would see a lot more of these minor characters being fielded in the battle.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having the option to make these characters, I think, is a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No,
and I get it. I get the models would take longer to do. But what are they doing right now? What have they always done? They make the book, they make the rules, yet there's no model yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, double-edged sword kind of thing, right? Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you're going to make these rules, well, the model's going to take time. Well, we know that.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to continue on with the heresy and still not have all your units and or characters out, by the time the heresy is complete, well, that leads to a lot of conversions, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, Ultramarines, I don't have Pullman Terrace Terminators yet, and you see a lot of conversions for those. You don't have the Luctaris jump troops. As plain Jane as they may be, I'm sure they can make them look pretty legit. Stuff like that. The named character Dreadnought, they haven't really made him, for Ultramarines. But there's also a lot of other armies that don't have stuff done either, right?
Yeah.
So, and you can see it starting to happen now. And hopefully that's kind of the trend that they're going to go and do. So, but yeah, wish list. I'd like to see a lot of other minor characters pop out and give different styles of play for the different armies, for the different legions.
Yep.
Right? So,
yeah, no, for sure. I can definitely see that.
It gives it more flavor.
Yeah.
It gives the armies different flavors. Because a lot of times what you'll see is, like, a guy will want to run his army a certain way, and he ends up just taking, like, all these generic units.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're just playing Space Marines.
I was going to say, you're just playing Ultramarines.
Yeah. Thanks. Other than that, like, besides an update,
yeah,
for older rules, older legions.
Yeah.
I think that's really about it.
Yeah, no, I feel it. I feel it for sure.
Oh! I have one other one. The Imperial Army and Militias.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see them come out with a huge range of models for that. Like, just come out with something that's 30K-esque.
Mm-hmm.
That would be pretty cool.
I could definitely, yeah. It would be nice to see more than just Solar Ox or, whatever. It's. I get where the converting comes in, because the world is your oyster if you convert. And there's tons of different opportunity with all the different sites out there that you can make really anything. But, you know, we, as a player base, we like to support Forge World and what they do, too. If we didn't, it wouldn't be where it is. So, if we can, you know, buy, essentially, you know, the home brand, people will. The one thing that I think a lot of people forget is, you know, the team isn't huge working on it. It takes time. Some of the rumors, right, where it's now, you know, there's more of a dedicated team for specialist games and stuff, and there's a dedicated team specifically just for Heresy. Hey, man, if that's true, awesome. But, you know, again, we just be patient, and we gotta let the company do its thing first, right, and see what's actually coming down the pipe, and, you know, not just kind of knee-jerk reaction to everything you hear or see online, because that's, I think, probably the hardest part, that the community is its best, but, like, its worst ally too, right? Like, you get those guys who just, it's just constant complaining. Oh, well, the armor looks funny, or that doesn't look how I thought it would look, and yeah, but who cares, man? Like, content is content, models are models. Like, anything Heresy, man, is a good thing. Anyone who's salty about, you know, Malagur's the Twisted, hey, like, come on, man. Like, the model looks amazing. It may not be your aesthetic because you're comparing it to all these MK3, MK4 Sons of Horus who are clean and don't really emulate a lot of the artwork that you'll see in Collected Visions, like later on in the Heresy. And, like, let's be real. If the models are changing and they're looking more corrupted, that's okay. The timeline is moving forward. Spoiler, guys, like, they do become Chaos Space Marines. So, like, if their armor starts to look like that, well, that's not a bad thing. That's okay. So it's just,
who knows? Maybe it's preparation for, you know, the Siege of Terra.
Oh God, so good.
Right.
I can only hope so. Honestly, I really do hope. If there is, like, a new box or something coming, I hope it is a Siege of Terra box. Something crazy. Like, I know some people think, wow, they just jumped right to the Siege. Well, yeah, man, that's... Where have you been the last 4 or 5 books? It's crazy. Like, I was on book 35, and I jumped ahead to the Solar War because I wanted to... You know, there was a lot of hype going on about the books, and I'm still going to listen and audiobook, you know, all the way back to the end, but holy moly. Like, you know, if you're caught up, if you've read Saturnine, if you're into Mortis, wow. Like, just wow. For real. So, yeah, I would love to see everything kind of move forward and get a little extra love.
I think it will. Eventually it will. It's not dead, that's for sure.
No.
So,
well, that's about all I got. I know there was a few spots in there that were kind of ranty. They might have sounded a little ranty, guys, but I really want to talk about these changes in a positive manner and not come across kind of how some of these pages are, right? Like, having a difference of opinion of what you want to see the system do, totally fine. But, you know, like, again, if you keep it constructive and you keep it into a, you know, an actual conversation, you can, as a community, you'd be surprised what kind of things you guys can come up with.
Making Heresy great again.
Well, that's just it. That's the whole goal. So, whatever we can do as a community to make Heresy better, again, there are guys out there like, you know, Tom and the Monovel Events crew. You got Andrew with the Aussie 30K guys, and then we've got, you know, Ben with King Fluff, the Great Crusade books, right? Like, the community, that's the community at its finest. Coming out with this new stuff and making it look, you know, making Heresy as good as it can be. So yeah, like, support the changes, support the positives, and the rest will come. You just got to give, you know, Forge World a chance to get caught up and ready. And, you know, I can't imagine it's an easy task. So, you know, let's try and do our part and give them support and, you know, feedback too, but constructive feedback, because it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
Exactly.
So, but that's basically all I've got. Before I guess we sign off here, you know, we just wanted to touch base. We did announce our giveaway on Instagram for Trident.
That's right.
So it's basically, once we hit our 350 followers, we're going to be giving away a limited edition Ravener Returned book. If you're into the Ravener series at all, it is awesome. And I would definitely recommend going to Trident Wargaming on Instagram and throwing down a follow. Look for the post with the book cover in it and basically follow along. It's, you know, in a nutshell, basically like the post, follow Trident, you know, tag 2 or more friends, and everyone who's on that particular post who is chiming in is going to get entered into a random draw. And once we hit the 350 followers, we'll do that live and ship it out to you anywhere you are. So definitely, yeah, don't delay, jump on. It's just one way we can kind of give back to the community, because, you know, we've been getting some pretty good support, and we just, want to give back and say thanks and kind of just do what we can. So,
and I think that's pretty much it for this episode.
No, it was good. So, thank you again for listening, and we'll definitely catch you next time.